Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. I appreciate you guys being here. We got some fabulous questions. I'm here as always with my boy Road Dog. Road Dog, you with me, bud?
I'm here, pal. Loud and clear.
Ready to rock and roll this morning.
How's the weather on the top of the hill in the castle this morning? Is it good?
It's good up here, man. It's good.
Very good. Very good.
Cool. But anyways, okay, I tell you what, man, let's rock and roll. You got some good questions for me? I saw about a zillion come through this week, so let's line them up, man, and give me the ones that you put at the top of the list.
All right. Top of the list for the man at the top of the hill. Here we go. Number one. This is a good one, actually. I think this is very good. So what do you believe people are buying from you when you're selling them coaching? Like, it seems kind of obvious, but is it?
Yeah. No, I'd say that's a beauty question, actually. What are they buying? Look, ultimately, they're buying results. Your job as a business coach is to go through X, Y, Z. In some cases, you're getting them out of their own way. In some cases, you're helping them with a relationship with their wife. In some cases, they don't have staff and they need it. In some cases, they got too many staff and they don't need them. And this normally comes back to psychology. But at the end of the day, you're working towards a result. And as I always say, like, let's say, you're a business coach, you say charge $2,000 a month, which is $24,000 a year. Your job is to, provide them, let's just say, at least a double return. So $48,000 over the course of 12 months in your relationship. So, no, I think very important that you dial in, and it's a result that they're looking for. And notwithstanding, a different individual that you're sitting with, like, somebody might have this kick-ass business and they're rocking from, strength to strength, but they haven't had a day off in like 3 months. And we've all met that guy and seen that situation. Well, the result that I would then that I'd be selling him at the front end of the relationship would be that we're going to be able to systemize this thing and get yourself some time off. And that would be the result. Generally speaking, the concern that guy would have on average is, well, yeah, I'll just take 2 weeks off. But the reason he's working hammer and tong is because he's trying to make lots of dough. And then he's concerned, well, I'll take the 2 weeks off, but I'm going to take a massive financial hit. And then I'm nervous that, I'm not going to be able to turn it back around, or all of a sudden the snowball will start going in the wrong direction, right? So again, it tends to come back to the money, or the result of money. So I would keep that without question, in the forefront of your mind as you're going through it all. But at the end of the day, you're buying result, right? Or you're selling a result. Now, I would complement that with your job. If you want them to buy and you want them to hand over the credit card, sign the paperwork, pay you, certainty is what you need to bring across. So the result is time off. The result is at least $48,000 in financial return. And then you've got to provide a framework where they're totally certain that they're going to get the result. And by the way, often they'll have confidence in you, but they've got no confidence in themselves. So your job, again, is to just massage that relationship during that meeting to make them feel comfortable that I understand that you're a little bit nervous, that this isn't going to follow through. It's going to be more work than that you're able to put in, this sort of thing. You've got to provide them the certainty that they're going to be able to get the result. So that's what I'd say, Road Dog. You're selling a result, normally has a financial frame around it, and you've got to create a dynamic of certainty in the sales process in order for them to pull the trigger, hand over the credit card, etc. Which, by the way, is why authority works so well, right? So if you look at anybody who you've gone online and spent, let's say, over $1,000 with, like let's say you bought a $1,500 program through a launch from a Frank Kern, Evan Pagan, maybe it's Mike Vilsame or whoever, one of these heavyweight internet marketers, Gary Vaynerchuk, whatever. It's the reason you wrote, like you were able to make that, to put your credit card in and accept that you're going to pay $1,500 has a lot to do with, like, because of their authority, because you look up to them and they feel like the real deal. So therefore, if they're the real deal and everybody else is getting these massive results, you'll jump on board also. So my way of saying that when you're going through the sales process, you've got to put yourself in a position where they see you as authority. Public speaking, writing books, reports. That's why, like, all the coaches that work with us, you're an author. If you don't have a book already, within 30 days, we turn you into an author for that reason. And then we encourage you to do live presentations. And for those live presentations, we've got word-for-word transcripts, PowerPoints created, everything there, because we just know that authority is absolutely critical to allowing them to feel comfortable. They've got the certainty to write the check, hand over the dough, etc. So that's how I'd answer that one, man. Results and certainty.
So you talk about that certainty, right? And again, that's such a mindset thing. It's crazy, right? Because obviously we all have moments of feeling very certain, but again, that's a daily ongoing battle, it seems. Like, when it comes to elevating your thinking, like, what's your favorite sort of mindset hack? Do you have one? Is there a hack or anything that you do to kind of get yourself thinking bigger and just to elevate your thinking overall?
The answer is absolutely. And what I want to do, I want to go back to the last one because you just brought up a good point. Like, one of the things you need to do is you need to be certain. You talk about a mindset hack. You got to be certain within yourself, right? Like, when I sit down with somebody and I'm selling them XYZ, I can tell you I have a 100%, I am 100% certain that they are going to buy. And that doesn't mean that everybody buys, but I can tell you that if I got 9 no's in a row, which hasn't happened for a very, very long time, they'd be amazed if it does. But on the 10th, my level of certainty would not have diminished in any way, shape, or form. I've had the good fortune of having, a lot of success over a lot of years. So my resolve has, my resolve is strengthened over what the average coach would probably have, but that doesn't matter. I had to get it from somewhere, and I just go into that meeting 100% certain. So the first person that's got to be certain is you. And in fact, I'll tell you, if 2 people walk into a meeting, and provided there's rapport, which is critical, in other words, they like you, you like them, etc., the person with the most certainty will influence the other. So in other words, if you walk into a meeting and you're trying to sell coaching to somebody, you build rapport. If you ever want to sell anything, step number 1 always has to be rapport, right? So liking and relating are the 2 best ways of doing that. So, you make them like you, you like them, okay, pretty straightforward. And then you build like something that's relatable. So like, oh, you've got 2 kids, I've got 2 kids. You live on a farm, I grew up on a farm. You live in the city, I used to live downtown. Your grandma's from Toronto, my grandma's from Toronto. My family's from Toronto. Wow, that's amazing. So you play hockey, I play hockey. So you're trying to create those, you're trying to create things that you relate with, and then you want them to like you and you want to like them, and normally you like things that you can relate to, by the way. So super important that you walk into that meeting and you're the first person that becomes, you need to walk into there with certainty. So mindset hack, I would say is, first of all, think bigger. Like you have to think big. Maybe what I just described with the level of certainty that you just walk into every sales appointment, every coaching engagement with the 100% expectation that you're going to close the deal. I would also say that, if you ask $3 questions, you get $3 answers, right? Like, how many times have you seen that video where they're like, oh, if you didn't buy Starbucks, you'd have X amount of money at the end of the year, right? Again, it's a $3 question. Like, give me a break. Start asking $30,000 questions. Ask $300,000 questions. Like, here would be an example. What do I buy from you for $50,000? What coaching program have you put together worth $50,000? And if I ask that question, if you line up 100 coaches and I ask it 100 times, at least 95 of them are going to have a totally glazed over blank look on their face, like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. What would I ever sell for $50,000? And I know one thing, if you don't have a $50,000 program, you can't sell one. And if we pull out a calculator and you work out and you would like to make $200,000 with your coaching business, if you were selling a $50,000 program, you'd only have to get 4 yeses per annum, literally 4 yeses per year in order to achieve your goal of $200,000. Or let's assume just the bottom line is that by thinking bigger, you're going to get better answers, and cutting out Starbucks is not the answer to financial freedom. I mean, I'm a proponent for, being intelligent with expenses and that sort of stuff. And if you want Starbucks, damn well go and get it. But at the same time, if you can find your way to not go to Starbucks, I mean, the reason I wouldn't go to Starbucks is more due to the sugar in the coffee than, the expense of the coffee, if you know what I mean. Asking, like, one of the things I've been doing, like, I was on, like, literally this weekend, I watched and I've been watching a number of these over the last number of months, but instead of, like, studying $1 million companies, and actually talked about this on one of our previous podcasts, but instead of studying, like, $1 million companies and multi-million-dollar companies, I was like, I wonder what's out there for billion-dollar companies. And I've been watching some videos. In fact, this morning I watched one on Jeff Bezos, getting interviewed, and he's just talking about last mile delivery and artificial intelligence and what he's doing with Alexa. He's got 1,000 employees right now working on that technology. So lots of cool stuff going on. So anyway, so I've, listening to a lot of that. And in fact, if I tell you what I learned from that video this morning, is he's talking about last mile delivery, which delivery is something that, I'm a huge fan of in terms of the way the marketplace is going. 2 words, convenience, delivery. Most of you would have heard me say that before. I won't prattle on about it, but I tell you those 2 words are 2 that I'd be studying if I were you. So he was talking about last mile delivery, and what he said is, you see, like, because the guy was asking him, are you going into competition with FedEx, UPS, etc.? And he said, no, I'm not going into competition with them, but I do feel a need to supplement so that we're not totally reliant on them, okay? Because he said, I need to be able to deliver at the highest level during peak, not, on March 5th, as in like the average day of the year, okay? So in other words, at Christmas time, 3 days before Christmas, it's absolutely crazy in terms of how many packages need to get delivered. Well, he doesn't want to rely on FedEx, not having a strike, not having, one of their buildings blow up, etc. So he wants to have control of it to a certain degree, but he's not worried about the average day. He was worried about the peak day. And I was like, oh wow, there's serious power. And this is a billion. This is a multi. The richest man in the world right now speaking, and this is the kind of thing that he's thinking. I think that there's incredible insight into studying. I guess it's thinking bigger instead of studying and watching videos about $1,000,000 companies. I'm watching videos on $1 billion companies, and I've learned a tremendous amount and stuff that I hadn't been exposed to over the last number of years watching normal videos that I'd be watching. So I'd say that, just thinking bigger, it's absolutely huge. I think it's something it's a little bit trite and sounds a little bit platitudinal on the surface, but I really think at the core of it is huge, right? Like, again, instead of building your $12,000 coaching program, build your $50,000 coaching program. And if they say no to that, you could always close them on the $12,000 program, right? Another thing that I do, and again, I've covered this previously, but I think it's very, very powerful. Whenever I have something that I want to accomplish, like a goal, what I do is I have a little, cantation that I do. Like, I go for a walk, and the louder I am, the more verbal I am, and the more animated I am with this language, normally the quicker the goal comes to me. As a rule, you want to make your goals and you'd have this based around other people, but I'm going to use it as a framework. Like, let's just say you wanted to make $1 million with your coaching business, right? Which is a great goal, but I would encourage you to create a goal around your clients rather than your bank balance. but I also find that folks have a propensity to move towards their own goals. So let me just help you with that one. If you wanted to make $1 million with your coaching business, what I would do is I go for a walk every single day, and I say, I now command my subconscious mind to do whatever it takes to make, in this instance, that would be $83,333.33 per month starting now. I now command my subconscious mind to direct me to do whatever it takes to make $83,333.33 per month of recurring revenue starting now. And I would go for a walk, and even as I do that, like as I'm saying this right now, Road Dog, right? Like I'm walking, I'm in my office, I got a big office, I'm walking and my arms are going, I got a hockey stick in my hand, there's a tennis ball sitting at my feet, as I tend to do in my office, and I walk around and I stick handle a tennis ball with a hockey stick, something that I do. But anywho, so for those listening, you're talking about a mindset hack. That's just one how I do it. So I find that gets into my subconscious mind, and then it just works really, really well for me. Or again, if I wanted to find a client $10,000 in the first 30 minutes or the first 30 days of working with them, I would say I now command, which by the way is a better goal in my opinion, because now this is targeted around my clients. And maybe you do a combination of, you do both. But I now command my subconscious mind to direct me to do whatever it takes to find every client I work with $10,000 in the first 30 days starting now. I now command my subconscious mind to direct me to do whatever it takes to get my clients $10,000 in the first 30 days of working with them starting now. And I would just say that over and over and over and over and over again. And I got to tell you that has been incredibly valuable for me. But by the way, shamelessly stolen straight from Tony Robbins. If you heard his language, before he goes on stage, he says something, it's a lot longer. I try to keep it nice and short and tight, and that's just the way I do it. So I would encourage you guys to come up with something like that. It's been very valuable for me, and I think it could be valuable for you guys. So I'd say that, just, think bigger, most definitely, and then, come up with a hack for your own subconscious mind to start training it and moving it towards, what you have got to do. So that's how.
So speaking of Tony Robbins, Karl, because we talked about Tony quite a bit last week, and I believe I asked you the number one thing that you've learned from Tony. Let's do a blend here, a little bit old school, a little bit new school. Dan Kennedy, Gary, and you mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk, because I believe you're starting to follow Gary a little bit more now. But give me an idea of what's the number one thing that you've learned or are learning from Dan Kennedy and from a guy like Gary V.
Okay, so old school, new school. Okay, so Dan Kennedy, and I'm guessing most of you listening know of Dan Kennedy. If you don't, he would be what Tony Robbins is to a life coach. Dan Kennedy would be to a business coach. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but at the same time, like the greats, the Russell Brunsons, the Frank Kerns, the heavyweights of the internet marketing world, pretty much all will hail Dan Kennedy as their mentor, right? So, and I'd encourage you to watch him. He's retired and a little bit over it nowadays, but not a bad guy to look up and follow, and he's got some great stuff out there. So Dan Kennedy, first of all, his rough, tumbly exterior, like he's, no BS, like no bullshit, no BS is basically his tagline. So all his books are no BS time management, no BS direct response marketing, no BS this, that, and the other. In fact, I believe he's the father of direct response marketing. No doubt I'm sure you've heard of that by now, but I believe that he literally created the terminology. So his rough exterior, the same way, look, I don't need to go to your high school, or I didn't need to go to your high school. I know that the bad boy, all the cute girls loved the bad boy, okay? The guy, just the bad boy, the guy who got suspended, the Judd Nelson of Breakfast Club, right? That's the guy the girls all like. There's a reason why, and it works the same in business. We're just attracted to that rough, tumbly exterior, and I think that there's value in that. Again, you follow my emails, you follow me in the magazine, The Six Figure Coach, you'll see that I often talk about being contrarian and going against the grain. In fact, I'm probably going to write something here in the very near future, but just the 4-hour work week, right? Like, you put the 4-hour work week up and you're going to get like a number of different responses, but a lot of which are that it's like a scam and who could ever work 4 hours and, actually get anywhere. And Tim Ferriss doesn't actually work 4 hours. And it's It's so stupid. Like, these are the people who are writing that are people who read the cover and didn't read the book, which unfortunately is a lot of them, right? So the 4-hour work week is about being able to get 40 hours done in 4 hours. It's not work 4 hours and do nothing for the rest of the week. Because if you know anything about Tim Ferriss, you know that he thinks that's kind of lame, right? He's not a guy who's trying to, skim through life and accomplish as little as possible. Quite the contraire, right? Like, some of his books are fabulous. The 4-Hour Chef, if you guys have never been exposed to that book, the 4-Hour Work Week, the 4-Hour Body, and then the 4-Hour Chef, right? The 4-Hour Chef is fabulous, and it is a cookbook, but it's not a cookbook. It's like a personal development book. It's about 800 pages. It's absolutely monstrous, but it's fabulous. But anyway, so being contrarian is what I'm getting at. So saying the 4-hour work week, like the 4-hour work week, don't read the cover and assume you read the book, right? And then again, I'm going to get all kinds of different responses. And then those people who respond, oh, it's a scam. If you come at them, when I say come at them, I'm not talking about attacking them, but going, you've clearly never read the book, because what the book actually says is this. You'll see that people will read that and it will be memorable. Not only will you get eyeballs, not only will you get attention, but it's way more memorable. Even in the fact when I say the bad boy in high school, I would be amazed if you're not able to literally name him, right? Like, so that, in other words, he was memorable, right? So anywho, so that's Dan Kennedy up front. I think that there's a lot of value in that. And by the way, I'm talking to business coaches. So as a rule, and that goes for the ladies as well, right? And of course, you're not going to have this rough, tumbly exterior, but most definitely standing up for principles and standing against instead of standing for, maybe is a better way of wording it. Like, no BS, right? Like, just literally in the title, you can see he's standing against something he's not standing for. So you get more attention for standing against than you do standing for. So that's at the forefront of Dan Kennedy and who he is, if you follow him. Another thing I would say is price desensitization is something that I've learned from him, and that, in fact, I'll give you an example. Okay, so I had a client many years ago, and the guy, I can't remember exactly, but it was something like discount mortgages, something to that effect. Like, that was the name of the business. And one of the key things that they came to me, and one of the challenges, that they attracted all of these duds, like these people with horrific score, like credit scores and that sort of stuff, and people that just couldn't get approved, and they wouldn't fill out the paperwork, they wouldn't follow the process, they disappeared halfway through. It's a nightmare. And I said, the name of the company is, and I can't remember exactly, I think it had a third name, it really doesn't matter. Discount and mortgage. When you put discount in the name of your business, this Dan Kennedy would throw up in his mouth when he saw your business card, saw your website, heard the name of your company, right? So a better example would be platinum mortgages, titanium mortgages, right? Premium mortgages. Like, now that premier mortgages, like that price desensitization, literally in the name of your company, would go a very, very long way, right? So I name my, like, I've got multiple companies, but Leader Global Consulting, Leader Publishing Worldwide. I mean, like, I named these companies when I was just like a one-man band, right? So that's what I'd say. So in your client, or another, a good example of this is the local pizza shop, right? Again, I don't need to live in your city. I don't need to look at, search it on Google or look into, the old school yellow pages or whatever to be able to see that the names of the local pizza companies, there's going to be like a 2-for-1. There's probably going to be a 3-for-1. There's going to be that kind of stuff there. Well, put one word in front of pizza and you immediately have a license to charge twice as much, or at least 1.5 times as much. Gourmet pizza. Now, that is price desensitization at its greatest. And then I would encourage you to visit the name of your business. Like, what are you calling yourself out there right now, right? Like, that's important. And by the way, remember, nobody gives a crap about the name of your company, so that's not me suggesting that you should run around and promote the hell out of your company, because you shouldn't. They don't give a rat's ass about you, the name of your company, your business card. They care about the result that you will bring to them, and that's what you should be putting at the front. In fact, a little bit in left field. I'll give you a little bit of a quick marketing lesson. Like from sports, like the NFL does not advertise the NFL. They promote Tom Brady. They promote the new up-and-coming quarterback. They promote the rivalry games. They promote the playoffs, and they promote the Super Bowl. Okay, in other words, they promote their events, programs, and playoffs. You need to be promoting your events and your programs, not the name of your company. So a better question for you is not the name of your company, but what are you calling, what's the name of your your program, right? Like my flagship coaching program back in the day was Achieving Business Excellence, right? I don't know. You might love it. You might even hate it. That's fine. But I can tell you that Achieving Business Excellence it's not discount business coaching. I'll give you the red hot tip. And it was never going to be for good reason. So something like that. So and then the name of your event. Again, what is the name of your event, right? What is the name of your coaching program? So that's something I would say that I learned from Dan Kennedy, probably the rough contrarian, standing against versus standing for. That might be a little bit of an exaggeration of pulling something straight from Dan Kennedy, but that would be there, of the same family. And then the price desensitization, super important. Don't be shy to charge high-end fees, and a lot of coaches are real sweethearts, by the way. So this answer I'm probably giving you more towards the coaching fraternity, because again, we tend to be sweethearts and want to give, and that rough, tumbly exterior is something that's pretty uncomfortable for a lot of folks, that contrarian viewpoint. So that's what I'd say for him. Gary Vaynerchuk. So that's old school, and then we'll go, quite new school, and that Gary Vaynerchuk is flavor of the day and, all over the place. So probably the number one thing from him, he's quoted as saying that he day trades attention. In fact, as I look at my computer, whenever I hear something that's, reasonably powerful, I'll write it down on a Post-it note, and then I chuck it on my computer. I've got two big computer screens, and I can tell you they got pink and purple notes all over them. But day trade attention is literally written here as I sit here and look at my computer. So I think that's very, very powerful. So just to break that down, so here's my question. What are you doing today to get attention from a local business owner that you'd like to sell business coaching to? And I would bet a lot of money that you probably don't have a plan for today to get attention. And then what is that? That's a Facebook Live. That's sending out an email. That is, picking up the phone, heaven forbid, and actually calling somebody. What are you doing today to day trade for attention? I think that's just, if you every day you demanded to get some attention from your local, and this is an attention, like as a business coach, what you don't want to do is only hang out with other business coaches. Like if you look at, a challenge you right now, the Facebook groups that you hang out on, how many of them are full of small business owners, and then how many of them are full of coaches? And I would dare say that 80% of them are full of coaches, and only 20%, if, are filled with small business owners, and you need to dramatically turn that immediately. You need to be hanging out with your prospective clients. Okay? Super duper important. The other thing that I would say is, well, what he says is document, don't create, right? So in this day and age, social media is obviously the craze. There's no doubt that there's a tremendous amount of power for it. I will, just before I go on, I'm going to caution you, social media is a long-term play. If you need a coaching client today, tomorrow, or next week, social media is probably not the place for you to do it. That's not to say you can't do it. I'm just going to tell you that it's probably not going to work. Social media is a place to build up, brand and long-term equity, okay, like as in get a coaching client in 90 days, not today, tomorrow, or next week, okay? So picking up the phone, knocking on a door, showing up to a networking group is how you get a coaching client immediately. That being said, everybody wants to build that brand and get that credibility online and through social media, etc. So it's very intimidating to create that content, okay? So rather than do that, and in fact, you're witnessing me doing it right now, versus me trying to create scripts and, PowerPoints and all that sort of stuff every single week. I just go, send me some questions. You send me the questions. Road Dogg and I jump on this thing, and I just start spitting out the answers. No doubt you can tell that this is not scripted in any way, right? Road Dogg's literally sending me a question, and I'm answering it. Well, this is documenting, not creating, okay? So what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, because you'd ask me these questions. If you're one of my clients, and I'd pick up the phone, one of my coaches would pick up the phone and then answer that question. So to a degree, I'm just documenting day-to-day activities, and then whilst in the process of doing that, we're creating a product, a podcast that you can then listen to, and presumably, if somebody else is asking the question, I can only assume a number of you also would like the answer. So that's the way we're doing it. So it's intimidating to think you got to sit there and create all this content. So Gary Vaynerchuk talks about just documenting your day-to-day activity and then using that as your social media content, which I can't begin to tell you how powerful that is. And by the way, you could then take that, if you answer some questions really well, take those, turn it into a transcription, and there's the basis of an email, there's the basis of a blog post versus trying to create all this stuff from scratch. So that's what I'd say. Document versus create, and then he day trades attention, and what are folks doing on a daily basis to get eyeballs? You guys hear me talk about eyeballs all the time. Online, internet marketing, social media, frankly, advertising, marketing, promotion is about eyeballs, okay? Why does the quarterback of the football team, why is he never hurting for a girlfriend? And this is on average, clearly. The singer in the rock band, including incredibly ugly individuals that tend to get up there and spit out some songs, normally finds a girl to go home with. The guy pulling beers behind the bar, right? He gets slipped the phone number before the end of the night. The actress has got men falling all over her. Why is this? Eyeballs. Okay, when you go up to order the beer, your eyeballs are on an individual, and there's just something powerful about that. This is how you get attention. So when you're thinking social media, you're thinking internet marketing, you're thinking getting coaching clients, I just want you to think of how many eyeballs are on you and your content on a daily, weekly, quarterly, and then annual basis. And I think that the answers you will then come up with and the roadmap that you'll then come up with will be significantly stronger. So there's my old school, new school answer, my man. What do you think?
Love it. So you mentioned for Dan Kennedy, naming the event. Okay, so which I love, by the way, and I've got mine here as well. But anyway, so on that note, though, I actually had a question pop up, and I thought it was really good. Because we always talk about, like, typically when we do an event, we always do it for free, right? We provide breakfast, whatever. We just get them there, knowing that the result is to get them to a 10K or follow-up presentation. So what if you wanted to charge for a live event? Like, have you ever charged for a live event? And the question here was, I feel like I want to charge, but how much do I charge?
Yep. Okay. All right. Beautiful. So good question. Just before I give you the answer, I'll give you the answer. Like, it's going to be, what are they realistically going to pay? And I can tell you that it's going to be certain. I don't know, how long is it going to be? Is it full day, like 2 sessions of 2 hours, like 2 in the morning, give them a lunch break, and then 2 in the afternoon, like it's 5 hours? Like, you could charge 500, you could charge 200, you could charge 97, say, for a 2-hour event. And then your argument, because I would like to get this person on the phone and say, okay, well, why do you want to charge? And I'd be amazed if the answer I get back isn't that I want serious people there, right? I'm like, okay, and look, and fair enough. So then if you've done hundreds of events and your attitude is that, when you do it for free, you get X quality of participant, and when you charge, you get a higher level X participant, then I'd say go for it. But my math doesn't work. You know what I mean? I've done the math. I've done over 400. In fact, I've filled over 400 local live events. And here's what I have found. Is that, let's just say you charge $1,000 a month. Like, you're a low-end, like when I say low-end coach, it's to coach that, hasn't risen their prices to, $2,000 to $3,000 yet, because you will get there. But you're going to start at $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 a year. If I put 10 business owners in a room, and by the way, if you're a coach and you're a one-man, one-gal band, in other words, you don't have staff, you want to get 10 people in the room and not a lot more, for the simple reason that your follow-up will suck once you get above 10. And making money through a live event is all about the follow-up. It's not about the people in the room. It's your ability to follow up properly afterwards, right? So you put, and that's presuming, by the way, that you're not selling from the stage, but 95% of the coaching fraternity doesn't sell from the stage, and you need to be one polished speaker to think that you're going to be able to sell a $12,000 coaching program right from the front of the room. And if you can, hats off to you. I'd give you a different roadmap than what I'm going through, but this is for the 95% of the coaching fraternity. So you do an event, you put 10 people in the room. At the end of it, you close on a consulting one-to-one meeting, and then at that meeting, you then sell them the $12,000 coaching program. So if you put 10 people in the room and one person buys at $12,000, this was a pretty profitable event. And then if two people buy, obviously you just double the math, it's 24, and if three people, it's $36,000. My experience is that just some people want to pay the 97 and some people don't. But you will be amazed at you won't be amazed. You're never able to tell who's going to have that aha moment. I mean, I have sold, $12,000 coaching, quote unquote, to people that they made $5,000 gross in their business last year, right? And then on the surface, I would imagine that that's not the attendee that you would want in your event on average. But I can tell you that sometimes those are the best clients. But the bottom line is that by making it a free event, it's going to be a lot easier to fill. I presume you're not just going to do one event, but I always say you got to commit to doing 10 events. If you commit to doing 10 events, this is where the success comes, because anybody can do an event and have massive success, and anybody can do an event and have very poor success. It's a numbers game. So I just think it's that much easier to put people in the room at no charge, keeping in mind that we're not the only folks out there doing this stuff, right? And there's this thing called YouTube and Google nowadays where they can search whatever they want. So my math says that you put them in the room for free. Don't worry about the $97, and certainly if you're doing the math, like it's going to cost me $500 to do this event, and then you think, okay, well, I'm going to put 10 people in the room, so I automatically double my $500. This is just a ridiculous way of looking at your event, because remember, one coaching client is worth $12,000. In fact, if you get one client for 2 months, that's $2,000, right? And it cost you $500 to put on the event. So with one guy at 2 months, you multiplied your return by 4, which is a good return by anybody's standards. So that's what I'd say. It depends on what the roadmap is. Let's just say it's 100, 200, 500 for like a full day event. But I just think that you'll miss out on so many people because they won't be willing to come and pay the $100 because they don't know you, right? So it's so much easier it's easier to fill the room when it's for free. And then when you do the math, one person that comes that you didn't suspect would maybe buy coaching and does, provides you a $10,000 return. This is a winning strategy on steroids. And I just think at the end of the year, again, if you're going to talk about doing one event, the math works very differently, but that's not a business coaching business. You need to be doing this once a month at a minimum. And by doing and another thing that I think is very, very important, and I assume when you look at your 12-month strategy for your company, it's not just about how much money you can make, it's the dent that you make on the local community. Remember, divorces are happening, like marriages break up over lack of money, over lack of love times 1,000, right? People kill themselves. Someone will kill themselves today over their friggin' business failing. That's why you do your local live events. And sometimes that's the guy, that's the gal that's going to come to your event, and you can be the catalyst of change and the reason they make the adjustment that ultimately saves their marriage, saves their life, saves their kid's life in some case. Because remember, when mom and dad get the divorce, what happens? Stepmommy, stepdaddy move in, kids get hustled from one side to the other. We talked about certainty earlier. I tell you, the one thing that your kids need, in fact, all kids, but even especially your young kids, they need certainty. The same teddy bear, the same movie, the same room, the same ceiling, the same pillow, the same teddy bear, the same everything. this is what they need. They need certainty. When you start moving them to and from stepmommy, stepdaddy's house, boom, 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 this is not good, right? It's not the worst thing in the world. And yes, sometimes I can hear somebody saying, oh, but that creates a more resilient individual. My goodness, that once in a while, yes, but let's not shoot for anomalies here. Let's shoot for the other. So just if you're doing free events, it's going to be that much easier to fill your event. It's going to be that much easier to impact more people. That one person who comes down who could never afford you, even the $100 was going to stretch them, might be the person that refers the one client that changes everything for you. So there's this snowball effect that ends up happening. So, Road Dog, I guess the way I'm answering that is that I would need more information to give this individual the absolute answer, but I'm positive, almost positive, that I know the line of thinking, and that's just that I'm going to get a higher level of individual in the room when I charge a little bit. But again, if you're you got to look at this from a macro perspective, not a micro perspective. And, you got to be running one of these a month. And the bigger picture for your coaching business needs to make not just make a return, make an impact. Remember, I want you to shift the community. I want you to shift the town. I want you to shift the city. I want you to shift an entire industry. I'm not in any way trying to, King Karl this or anything, like all of a sudden that I know better than everybody else and I'm going to save the business coaching world. But I can tell you that I wake up in the morning and my thoughts are around shifting an entire industry. It's about shifting and impacting an entire industry. I mean, that's why I started my magazine. And if you subscribe to my magazine, the first email lays it all out for you, my reason why I'm doing this, right? My parents had a newspaper growing up, and this has just been a passion project for a long, long time. And I know the kind of impact something like a magazine can have when it's got that macro, bigger picture versus the micro, hey, how can I go about selling some? We don't even sell ads, right? Half the people that ask me, I end up just giving them an ad. I might regret saying that, by the way, but at the end of the day, that's what it's designed. So I want you guys to be thinking about shifting the mindset, the consciousness, the business owner's perception and ability to grow businesses in your city. And by, trying to break even on your event at $100 or, trying to get a higher level of prospect as the, most important thing that you're doing with your event, my opinion, and I need to have more information, is that might be a little bit short-sighted for your bigger picture objective. So that's what I'd say to that one, brother.
Okay. It's good stuff. We could take that so many different ways too, right? Because it's at the end of the day, what you do one live event, like unless you literally throw up all over yourself, you should land at least 1 to 2 clients out of that. Like it's kind of funny, right? Like it's the whole, like, what's the event cost you and what's the return that you're going to make on that? It's absolutely insane. So in order to keep this somewhat reasonable in terms of time, I always have to ask myself, what do I think is going to be a short answer from Karl? Which is always a very interesting question. These are the questions that plague me, my friend. So I'm going to pick one that I think is going to be fairly short, that we can get sort of wrapped up and get everyone on their way. When it comes to contracts, do I need a contract with my coaching clients, or can I just do month to month? What's your experience telling you?
Okay, you asked the wrong question. I'm about to. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so yeah, do you need a contract? Look, yes, I mean, a contract's a great idea. It's obvious, right? I can also tell you that a contract, what I'd really tell you if we were sitting here face to face and we were having a heart to heart, I'd say, give me your contract. I just need to go to the bathroom and go number 2. There's no toilet paper in there, and I'm going to use the contract with the ink that your client signed it. In other words, that's what it's worth. When someone doesn't want to honor the terms of your agreement, they're not going to. And then you've got a couple of options. You could go and chase them and spend all that time, energy, and those resources on that, or you could work on filling your next live event. Let's put it that way, or servicing your existing client who's paying you. Remember, it's 80-20, and you've got to break it down and work out where you're going to channel the 80% of your energy. And I can tell you, it's not on the guy who wants to break your contract on average. Maybe this is a 200, like, here's the other thing. Is this a 250,000? Like I have closed a 500, in fact, multiple $500,000 coaching deals. Well, what do you think? Obviously, in fact, to get a $500,000 deal done, I got to tell you, you have to sit with lawyers. You got to frame things up. Like, you know what I mean? There's some serious parameters and some toing and froing. Nobody's signing a $500,000 deal without a lawyer. So again, not only do you need to have the contract in place, but it needs to be airtight. If you want a little bit of a secret sauce with dealing with lawyers, you intentionally want to have a couple of quote unquote heirs in there. Because if you know anything about law and lawyers, in that they can't look, you'll never give an agreement to a lawyer and have them come back and say, "Oh, it's amazing, sign it." Like that doesn't happen, right? They're going to come back with red ink, like almost every single time. Of course, there are anomalies, but that's 1 in 100, not the 99, and I deal with the 99, right? So we'll assume that this is a $12,000 coaching client. Here's the challenge. The hardest thing to do in coaching is to get a deal done. Well, if I got a flashy agreement and then, we're doing this and then because what the mistake that coaches make is then they send it to the client and they say, "Hey, can you get this signed for me?" And often you're not even there. If you're going to get paperwork signed, you want to be in front of the guy and standing there. So not only are you showing the agreement, he's got his copy, you've got yours, and you go through. Let's say that there's 19 points in it. Go through all 19 very, very quickly. Okay, this says that. This said, let's very quickly go through it, right? That's what I'm saying to you. And I've got my pen. He has a pen in his hand, in her hand. And I've got a pen in mine, by the way. There's NLP there. Boom. Anyway, so we go through, and you know what I mean? Like, I'm just going through each point. I go, boom. Let's sign. I literally grab the paper and I'm signing it as I tell him or her to sign it, and then we're off to the races. But more to the point, what I'm going with that is that for a $12,000 coaching client, if they want to stop paying you, they're going to stop paying you. And if you do the math at the end of the year, and the number of coaching deals that didn't go forward because they got the agreement, and then this created some questions for them, and this created an extra little bit of time for them to think about it, etc. You'll probably find that just saying, "Look, let's rock and roll. Your credit card number is," and then you write it down and just start to say, "Look, first coaching call was on Thursday. You ready to go? Does 1:00 suit you?" When you do the math at the end of the year, you're probably going to find you're significantly better off not having the paperwork and just getting the coaching relationship started, then having the paperwork. Let's assume that the paperwork maybe keeps one client going for the entire 12 months because they feel like, "Gee, I signed it, so I've got to follow through." But if you measure the number of clients that didn't follow through, let's say that 4 clients don't follow through as a result of the paperwork, and then 1 followed through for the full 12 months at $12,000 as a result, you're behind by $36,000 when it's all said and done, like when you do your numbers at the end of the year. Because remember, business is always about math. So my answer is insanely gray. I also know that there's different personality types. I'm very big picture. I'm disorganized as hell. But I am just big picture on steroids. I hire people and surround myself with very detail-oriented people so that I can get all those details and whatnot done. Because they're critical, but I just don't want to be the person going through and crossing T's and dotting I's, etc. Right? So I don't do things as a rule that I'm not good at. Right? Like, again, I don't enjoy cleaning my house, and I don't want my wife to have to scrub toilets. So guess what? We have a cleaner, but we also are able to take that, the $250 or whatever it costs per month to pay a cleaner. We're easily able to offset those 3 hours in different areas of our world where we're sitting down and going over bills and being strategic, etc. So, okay, hang on. I was just saying there a little bit ago, or I just riffed into your personality might be that you're Mr. Details, Mrs. Detail Orientated. You know what? For your own peace of mind, for your own psychology, look, get some paper. I mean, I have an agreement that you can have a 12, like every coaching deal that I ever coached, like back in the day when I was doing, I had 100% money back guarantee, right? Well, I have got an agreement in place where I could have where I have 100% money back guarantee, but you would have to pay me the $1,000 a month for the entire 12 months in order to exercise your money back guarantee, right? By the letter of the law and the paperwork that we've got. So, you know, like we've got those types of things. That's what I would always do. But keep in mind, we were always face-to-face with our client. I'll also say that if you're face-to-face with your client, a little bit differently than if you're doing it over the phone. If you're doing it over the phone, I'm telling you, this paperwork is going to stop sales significantly more than it's going to do anything in your favor. So, yeah, I'm answering this gray big time, but personality type factors into it. But if I am you and I'm $1,000 a month coach, I'm not worried about the paperwork. I'm just worried about collecting the credit card numbers and putting them through. Rather than spend the time farting around with an airtight contract, spend your time with your nose in your books and watching videos and doing stuff like this podcast to be able to really strengthen your ability to keep those people paying you. Because ultimately, the paperwork's not why they're going to keep paying you. They're going to keep paying you because you're kicking ass, taking names, and getting massive results with and for them. That's the critical black and white answer for you. So there you go, Road Dog. A little bit of a gray matter, but yeah, like I said, we have agreements in place and stuff, and you know, like where, you know, our clients that work with us, where they're right there in black and white, and the coach would literally have to pay you for 12 months in order to exercise the money back guarantee. And just so you understand, no one's going to pay you $1,000 a month, 12 months on the trot, and then in month 12 surprise you with, hey, I want all my money back. Like, that doesn't happen. What happens is, like, in month 4, 5, 6, 7, they start getting squeamish. They stop paying. They start, you know, doubting X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to know long before 12 months. They're not going to pay you for 12 months so that they can then exercise the money back guarantee. That's a little bit of the magic. It's not going to happen. So maybe getting clever with your paperwork is a pretty good idea as well.
That's awesome, dude. That sparked a couple of ideas for me. I think that is excellent. The 12-month thing. I remember there was an online course. Not to drag this out any longer, but there was an online course that I purchased once. I think it was like $1,000 or $1,500, something like that. And he had a money back guarantee if you actually completed the entire course and could show your work at the end of it, which I thought was very, very interesting to have that kind of a bold guarantee, because you and I both know that 80% never make it past the first part of the course, right? 100%.
And no one is going to go through the entire program, fill everything out, that level of effort, and then ask for the money. Because, by the way, we'll assume the program is good, right? Which I'd be amazed if it's not, because you're going to take the time to put together a kick-ass program. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? You'd like to think they know what they're doing. The person's going to get results. Conversation over. So there you go, man. Yeah, I like it. But there we go. Anything else for us, my man? Or
no, I think we'll leave it there for today. I think that should probably be good. That was amazing content as per usual. We'll save some of these questions for next time. Everybody, keep the questions coming.
Beautiful. All right, Road Dog. Appreciate you, bud. I appreciate everybody being here. Again, we always appreciate Business Coaching Secrets. If you can share the content, let other coaches know that you feel like need to get this stuff. And if you can take a picture of our podcast and share it on social media, that would be super duper appreciated. So on behalf of myself and my boy Road Dog, that's it for this week, and we'll be speaking to you again soon. Thanks much.
Have a great week.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at Focused.com.